Hello, honors. We are going to talk about Act 4, Scene 1 in this first video. And when it opens up, we're at Friar Lawrence's cell. And this makes sense because in the end of Act 3, we just found out that Juliet is going to go to Friar Lawrence to hear his plan to save her in her soliloquy. But when the scene opens up, we are actually with Friar Lawrence and Paris. Again, if we think largely about the idea, it makes sense because just like Romeo went and asked for the friar to marry him, Paris too is going to see if the friar will marry he and Juliet. Again, here's the term for probably the fourth or fifth time, in medias res, the Latin phrase that means in the middle. And the scene starts in medias res for your quiz with the conversation between Friar Lawrence and Paris. Because Friar Lawrence says on Thursday, the time is very short. It requires the audience, or in our case, the readers, to infer what the Thursday is, because we know the other precedings of the play. We know that Thursday is the day that Lord Capulet said that they would marry, and we can presume that Paris has already asked. And Paris even goes further to try to answer that question. Yes, my father Capulet will have it so because he thinks that she is sad. Immoderately, she weeps for Tybalt's death, and therefore they have not had the opportunity to talk about love, but Lord Capulet wants to make her happy again. Friar Lawrence, look at this, an aside, remind you it's a little whisper so that the other characters cannot hear it. And to himself, or to more to the audience, Friar Lawrence says, I wish I knew a way that I could slow this down. Juliet comes in, and there is some sassy banter between her and Paris, because Paris greets her, happily met my lady and my wife, kind of presumptuous. And Juliet replies, that may be, sir, when I may be your wife. It's sassy. It doesn't seem like it is, but it's sassy for a girl in this time period. He says, hello, my wife. And she said, well, maybe when I end up being your wife, but I'm not right now. And Paris goes further and says, have you come to make confession to this father, Friar Lawrence? And Juliet answers, to answer that, I would be confessing to you. That's sassy talk for a girl at this time. I'm not going to answer you because if I did, I'd be telling you my secrets instead of the friar. So Friar Lawrence can hear the tension, and he answers, my leisure serves me now, pensive daughter. My lord, he turns to Paris, she and I must entreat the time alone. We have to go inside. So Paris says, God shield I should disturb, devotion. He thinks that Juliet's just there to pray as she normally does. And then he kisses her and leaves. When he walks off the scene, Juliet shuts Friar Lawrence's door and then says, come weep with me. I am past hope, past care, past help. Friar Lawrence. And he says, I already know your grief. Paris already told me that he's trying to marry you on Thursday. Juliet says, don't tell me this again. Tell me not, friar, that thou hearest of this, unless you have a way I can prevent it. Now, we get her foreshadow, just like Romeo. Because she says, if you don't have a plan, if you can't help me, do call my resolution wise, and with this knife I'll help it presently. She pulls out a knife from whatever pocketbook she was carrying to Friar Lawrence's cell. And she goes further. She said, God joined my heart and Romeo's, and you joined our hands in marriage. And she's going to use her hand to seal another deed. If you don't have a plan for me to not stay faithful to Romeo. She carries on, and at the end shows her desperation. Don't take so long to answer me back. I long to die if you don't have a remedy, if you don't have a fix for my particular situation. Now, Friar Lawrence answers back and he says, Hold, daughter, I spy hope. I have a plan that does seem as desperate. It does seem kind of hard what I'm going to ask you to do. But if you're willing to slay yourself, oh, well, then what I'm going to ask you to do is going to seem like nothing. Now, here is hilariousness of Juliet. Are you ready? She says, Bid me leap. I would rather jump off the battlements of any tower than marry Paris. She says, Chain me to a roaring bear than marry Paris. In fact, I would rather lie in a pit where serpents are or be hidden in a charnel house, which is one of those houses in a cemetery with all the newly dead people, than marry Paris. She is serious. She does not want to marry him. Well, here's Friar Lawrence's plan 2. We see how awesome the first one worked because he just needed Romeo to go to Mantua for a little bit and everything was going to be fine. Then we got the complications to the plot because Lord Capulet wanted them to get married sooner. So Friar Lawrence has got to come up with another plan. Now, he's supposed to be the guidance, the spiritual entity, and he still is not even saying, well, maybe we should be honest. Maybe we should go and tell the parents. Instead, he says, hey, Juliet, take this vial when you're in bed. And he gives her a little vial of, not like a magical potion, but like a chemicals that he has mixed up. And it's got a liquid inside of it. And he says, drink it. After you drink it, a cold and drowsy humor will go through all your veins. Basically, you already know, Friar Lawrence is always outside in the garden growing things, medicinal, studies medicines and what. He's extracted some plants that will actually slow Juliet's heart rate down to a point where other people will think that she's dead. And he says it. He says, you will appear like death. Your face will go pale because there's not as much blood circulation. Your fingers, your body will feel cold because there's not enough circulation. But this extract basically only stays for 2 and 40 hours. So 42 hours is all that it will last. And then it's going to be like you're waking up from a pleasant sleep. And when you wake up, you're gonna be in the Capulet tomb where all the kindred of the Capulets lie because they're gonna think you're dead. But Romeo is going to get a letter from me that lets him know this plan. And when you are waking up after 42 hours, he and I will be there to watch you waking. And then Romeo will take you to Mantua with him. Oh, sounds foolproof. Know the brief overview of that plan. And then he says, well, this is going to be the plan as long as no womanish fear stops you. And Juliet says, oh, don't tell me of fear. Just give it to me. And she leaves the scene thanking the friar for the plan. Thank you.